Hello everybody, my name's James and welcome to the Planet FPL Gameweek 22 Deadline stream, and it's live and it's a double, and over the next 56 minutes or so I'll try and answer as many of your FPL dilemmas as possible ahead of the 6:30 p.m. UK time Gameweek 22 deadline. Now, before I get into the questions, let me take you through the graphics because this may well answer a lot of your questions. And if you happen to see the answer to your question on screen, please do the kind courtesy of deleting your question. Be amazing. I will still give you a shout out with love. Right, top right hand corner, my team on screen. The first thing that will probably stand out for you is triple captaincy active on Marcus Rashford, as many of the reasons that I discussed yesterday on the Chip Strategy podcast. Thanks for everybody who shared, liked, retweeted on that, commented. It's hugely appreciated. Thank you. I've taken a -4. I sold Cancelo, who's no longer in the league. I sold Rodrigo, who's crippled, only short term. And I sold Mitrovic. Didn't overly want to, but he has got a tough fixture this week anyway. And I brought Bruno Fernandes in. I bought Nathan Aki in, and I bought Wilfred Gnonto in. Aki doesn't start for me this week. And that's despite, just to briefly explain, you will see on the benching dilemma screen, I have him above Sven Botman, but Sven Botman is in my team rather than Nathan Aki. And that's the simple principle of the all-in strategy, because I have a Tottenham attacking player in Harry Kane playing against Manchester City. So that's why I've made that decision. If you don't have Kane, if I didn't have Kane, I'd do it the other way. I'd play Aki. So I line up this week with De Gea double Newcastle defence, Trippier, Botman, Ben White, midfield 4, triple captain Marcus Rashford, Bruno Fernandes, Gabriel Martinelli, Kevin De Bruyne up front, Gnonto with his double, Haaland, Kane, Aki first sub, Andreas Pereira, Bueno in reserve as well. Below that, you'll see my top captaincy picks in order of preference. Considering what I've done, you won't be surprised to see Marcus Rashford there at the top, ahead of Bruno Fernandes. And then, in all honesty, if it's not them two, I'd probably captain Haaland over anyone else. Yeah, I'd probably still do that. If you want to go United defensive because you think they're going to be low scoring, you fancy United for back-to-back clean sheets, I think Luke Shaw or David De Gea are your choices. Beyond that, I wouldn't really consider anything else. To the left of me on the screen, you'll see the countdown clock for the deadline and my correct score predictions for all 11 games in this game week. Predicted clean sheets for Chelsea, Arsenal, Brighton and Manchester United once. Highest scorers in the game week predicted to be, not surprisingly, Manchester United. Right at the very bottom of the screen, you will see the fixture ticker for all 20 teams for their next 5 scheduled fixtures. Blue fixtures denote double game weeks. The colour scheme is taken from FPL's FDR. I don't necessarily agree with it. You shouldn't necessarily either. The FDR on my planner is much better. Shout out as always to FPL Captain. He's the man on the graphics. Give him a follow on Twitter. That's Captain with a K. Captain, I'm hoping to see you for a beer in the summer. I might be down your neck of the woods in the south of England. We'll organise a meet up. The benching dilemma screen finally, where there are 2 players chosen together. The player with the tick is the preferred option to start out of those players. Where's that on the screen, James? I can't quite see it. It's gone. It's there. Right, page 1. Preference would be start Martinelli over Mitoma, Mitoma over Johnson, Johnson over Mitrovic, Mitrovic over Saliba. On to page 2. Saliba over Bailey, Bailey over Almiron, Almiron over Estupinan, Estupinan over Perisic. Page 3, Perisic over Aki, Aki over Botman, Botman over me, me over Rico Lewis. Page 4, Lewis over Mings, Mings over Greenwood of Leeds. Is really interesting for people who've got this week. It's obviously got a double, but probably won't start either. Greenwood over Pereira, Pereira over Hugo Bueno. And finally, if you got keeper dilemmas this week, I would go Kepa over Ederson, Ederson over Raya, Raya over Danny Ward, Danny Ward over Leno. I did have one on the advanced tier Patreon stream that we just did, which was Kepa versus Sanchez. And I did say I would just go for Kepa. I'd probably pick Sanchez over Ederson though, if that's helpful for you. That will keep rotating during the course of the stream. Right, that's your graphics covered. Let's get into the questions and power through these. Mike is first. Says, hi James. Have 2 free transfers. Thoughts on Foden and Mitrovic to Fernandes and Gnonto this week, then both to Saka and Ketcher for -4 next week. Yep, Don't mind that. Sounds like you got your plan in place, Mike. Good luck. Hollis Stamos says, probably somebody asked you before something similar, but if you can choose one team to win the Premier League from the Big Six and it isn't Tottenham, who would it be? Manchester City, mate. One, because they're the only ones I think have got a chance of catching Arsenal, and also just generally in any normal season, they're the least fucking noisy. Martin Cumberland says, good evening. Bench one of Mitoma, Martinelli or Kane. Would never bench Harry Kane in any fixture. And if you look at that benching dilemma screen on page 1, you will see I've just got Martinelli just ahead of Mitoma. Kartik Rao says, can't get to Bruno without selling both Martial and Kane. And Ketcher is coming. Who should be the other striker? -4. Or should I just hold Martial and go for Mahrez instead? Got KDB. My general take on this as an overview. If you've got 3 United players already, don't take a -4 to bring Bruno in. Would be my. If you're sitting there with 2 threes and you can make Bruno Fernandes happen instead of Martial and see the temptation. I think Martial probably... There's every chance he'll get in the team for Wednesday. I don't think he starts tomorrow. Why Wednesday he might be back in the team. And if you've got, I don't know, let's say even if you've got 90 minutes of Martial across the two games, is it then worth the -4 to go to Fernandes? Probably not, in all honesty. But if you want to take a -4 for another striker currently, I mean, you could make the case that Tony's got the best of it this weekend, but then he's got Arsenal away next week, so then you're just moving the problem on. Mitrovic away to Chelsea's not worth the -4 now. Maybe Callum Wilson for 2 weeks. Isak, we're not sure if he's going to be available tomorrow. Brennan Johnson, 2 weeks for a punt. Are these guys worth -4s? Probably not, to be honest. Ben Eddington says, hi mate, hope the channel got some good traction with the chip pod. Yeah, look, feedback's been great. It's not been spoken about as much as the one we did 3 weeks ago. But I think that's because people knew what to expect this time. But yeah, feedback are amazing. And as I said, every like, share, comment, retweet, quote retweet, comment on YouTube, like on YouTube, subscribe on YouTube. Like every little thing obviously helps. It's free content, so it doesn't cost anything. But we're still very, very thankful for all the kind words that have been said. There was one really funny tweet I saw was some guy said, I listened right through until you dug out Klopp and then I turned off. We love Jurgen Klopp here. Neil Thompson says, evening, did the Rodrigo to Fernandes with exactly the right funds? Triple captain played on Rashford. Rock and roll time. Good luck for the weekend. And to you too, Neil. Stephen Moore says, evening, James, no question. Just a reminder to everyone who plans on triple captain Rashford to actually hit the button before the deadline. Easy thing to forget to do. I tell you what's probably easier to do rather than that. The easiest thing to do is to click it and then not hit save your team. Is an easier thing to do, and it's definitely saved for me. I can tell you. Stefan B says, afternoon, I have 2 free transfers with no pressing concerns. Which transfer do you think is better? Mitrovic to Nonto/Bamford or Martinelli to Odegaard? Again, just had a long chat with some of our patrons about Martinelli, and he's had a difficult little run, but he's had some difficult fixtures, and I think it's understandable. So I wouldn't necessarily rush through that move. I think I would want to go Nonto now, put the money in the bank rather than Bamford. Do I think Nonto outscores Bamford this week? No, I don't. But I would probably rather you get Nonto and just save the money at the moment. Craig Gardner says, -4, Almiron, Mitrovic out for Fernandes, Nonto, then bench Nonto or Martinelli. Is it worth it? I mean, if you're getting Nonto in this week, I'd start him. Look at it on the face of this. The first fixture is Nottingham Forest away. It's a decent fixture. It's a tough fixture. They haven't lost at home since September in the Premier League. But it's a decent fixture. You play them, don't you? And then United's your bonus. So I think if you've got Nonto, if you're going that way, I would start him. I would start him over Martinelli. Shout out for Ben Eddington and Ricky Donahoe. Thank you very much, guys. John Harris has played Robertson or White. Yeah, I'd still go Robertson, I think, even though there's every chance Liverpool will concede. If you've got a player like that, I think you play it. It's not a scary fixture as per se, is it? Francis Logan says, bench De Bruyne and bring in Bamford, Nonto, 2 free transfers. Already have 3 City, United, Arsenal, thanks. So you're pretty well set. And you're obviously not going to want to roll. Just a little thing I'd advise, Francis. Have a look at your bench. You know, who's your goalkeeper for Gameweek 25, for example? Is now the right opportunity for you to make that better? You know, if you're sitting there with Danny Ward and De Gea like I am, if I was you sitting in that situation, I was sitting there with Danny Ward and De Gea now, I'd arguably looking at myself going, should I go back to Kepa now instead of, obviously not for De Gea, but for Ward? I'd have a look at something like that, and then look, what's my cover for 25? If you've got shit bench players who aren't going to do, you got Patterson who might not be back for Everton, for example, these sort of players, can you move that on with one of the free transfers? That might be a better use right now. Again, I would prefer right now going Nonto over Bamford. Again, if you got Nonto in, I think you'd start him even over KDB. Generally would be my take. I don't think it's a certainty KDB will start on Sunday. I think he will. I know it's saying Luke Disable is obviously very clever on the City predictions. He also thinks De Bruyne will play, but he's right to highlight that De Bruyne didn't play when City played Tottenham a couple of weeks ago. It's worth saying Alvarez, I think, has only started one away Premier League game so far. So I think KDB will play, but yeah, if you were going down that route, I would play the doubler. You got an attacking player with a double, play him. Harry22 says, hi James, what defender should I bring in for Cucurella, ideally to cover blank game at 25? So look, there's the obvious one I think from that perspective, probably Manchester City. So Aki's obviously the one I've favoured at the moment. I'm going to guess you probably can afford that. Maybe you've already got him. Akanji's an alternative option. Obviously, United players not going to help you from that perspective. An Arsenal defender will. Maybe if you have no Arsenal defensive coverage, 2 attackers, get that in. You've got the double cover for 25. Best cover for the blanks that I spoke about yesterday is probably Villa from that perspective, from a defensive perspective. But I'd rather wait and have the information. You may also find, if you want to be cheeky, Liverpool. But unfortunately, with Konate's injury, I don't think you can go for Matip or Gomez, and presumably you can't afford Robertson at the moment. I wouldn't go for Trent at this moment in time. I'm not even convinced that Trent will get back in the team tomorrow. I'm sure he will, but I'm not sure he does tomorrow. So I'd probably Ake. If you don't need to use it in the next few weeks, Tyrone Mings would be the choice from Villa. Alternatively, another Chelsea player that's a little bit more secure. But you could look at someone like Thiago Silva with the Champions League restarting around about that period. Is it more secure? Badiashile maybe? Badiashile can't play in the Champions League. He's not been named as one of Chelsea's 3 new players. You'd think he probably plays a lot in the Premier League at the moment. So Badiashile maybe even. If you just want the cover for that. They've got good fixtures either side. Max Gilbert says, hi James, planning a hit in the next 2 weeks to get my preferred doublers. Better to do it this week to get an extra week out of it and catch some price rises. Good luck. Yeah, but then you can flip it the other way and say the player you go early on might get injured between now and then, or sent off, or something changed in your thinking when you go, I wanted to go that player instead. So yeah, I think you can spin that narrative either way, mate. Alistair Hargreaves says, Kane and Almiron to Fernandes and Ketcher, or KDB to Bruno to only swap it back next week. I think I prefer to swap. Because although you could look, Kane's got City. Yeah, look at Kane's fixtures from 23 to 28. Now, obviously, 28 game could be off, we know, but even 23 to 27. I think 24 to 27, I've got Tottenham top of my FDR for those 4 weeks from 24 to 27. You go down that route, you can find it difficult to get back to him. So if you know you want to get rid of Harry Kane, fine, do it. But I wouldn't take recent blanks against Manchester City and Arsenal into account. I'm pretty sure he scored against Fulham in his last fixture. And Harry doesn't matter so much for the fixtures in any case. So I'm not keen on advising anyone to sell Harry Kane to fund getting Bruno Fernandes, is my take right now. Think about it as well logically like this, right? Over the next 4 game weeks, Bruno Fernandes and Harry Kane play the same number of fixtures. If I said to you, got to carry it through for the next 4, who do you think scores more? I'd back Harry. So I'm not keen on advising selling Harry Kane. Ben Edison says, stuck with Dallo since wildcard. I do want him in the long run, but he could miss the next 2 again. And United could keep double clean sheet. Is a -4 for a placement United defender worth it? I'm going to say probably yes. Probably yes, Ben. Yeah, I think the only one I'd take the hit for, though, is Shaw. I wouldn't consider taking a hit for like a Varane or a Martinez or anything like that. So I think it'd have to be Luke Shaw. But then I think yes. I mean, the thing is, you could keep holding it. What happens if he suddenly's decided he wants Wan-Bissaka to stay in the team and stuff? I think it's Shaw if you do it, and I think probably a yes. probably, if I said to you now, Shaw will start twice and Dallo won't start at all, you'd do it, wouldn't you? I don't think Dallo starts tomorrow, and by Wednesday that could be different. So I understand the awkwardness of it. I think I'd do it, Ben. Chim says, only have Martinelli from Arsenal and I'm looking to triple up this week. Which two are the best in your option? Like the prospect of triple attack, but need to prepare defence for blank game week 25 with 2 Newcastle and Shaw. So, yeah, I mean, do you need to do it right now? You only need to do one now, really. So, Odegaard, I think, is slight preference over Saka because of the price difference. If they were the same price, I'd probably prefer Saka. So, again, I can't see the rest of your squad. And probably the defensive player, I'd go next week because my favoured would probably be Ben White as the cheapest there. But just make sure that he obviously got hauled off against United and didn't play well and Tomiyasu's fit. I just want that one extra game to just feel comfortable with that. Or, if affordable, go Zinchenko at the moment. But Zinchenko's hardly ever going to get you attacking returns and stuff. Saliba, I mean, they're all reasonable. He's probably not going to make a lot of difference which one you go for. Saliba and Gabriel are obviously going to stay in the team as it stands at the moment. I cannot foresee that changing. But I don't think you necessarily need to make that change now. You're obviously not going to sell a United player now. Is Arsenal's fixture that much better than Newcastle? I mean, I probably would pick an Arsenal defender over Newcastle this week because of Arsenal playing Everton rather than Newcastle not. Not that West Ham have been free scoring this season, but they've had a decent week after wins against Everton and Derby. So I think you can make that move next week, the second one. Work says Martial and KDB to Nketiah and Fernandes with 2 free transfers. I have Edison, Haaland for Man City and Martinelli White for Arsenal. So we'll spend transfer next week getting Mahrez, Man City defender. You've got a plan, and I think it's reasonable. Are you happy to go without KDB next week? That's the big thing. Think of it like this. Are you feeling forced in to get Fernandes now because of the possibility? Won't you maybe feel the same with KDB next week? So just consider that. And obviously, if you're happy, crack on. Go for it. Shri MC says, hi, James. Lean towards bench KDB over playing Martinelli and Nonto. No, I'd still play KDB over Martinelli, I think. Nonto, as I said, if you gone down that route, would you bother for? You might as well got a 4 point. You might as well gone Greenwood 4.1, right? And benched him. Lee Sherwood says, I've already used my 2 free transfers to get Saka and Rashford. Would you recommend a -4 to go Martial to Nonto or leave it? I'll have to -4 eventually to get him in for 25. Yeah, but by the time that comes around, it might be you don't want Nonto by that stage. So, no, I'm going to say a no on that. If it was free, yeah, -4, no, I don't think. Ayub says, hi, James. Would you do Amra to Saka for free or just roll? No, do it. Yeah, I'd do it. That's despite predicting Newcastle to score more than Arsenal this week. I realise I think Arsenal's ceiling is much higher, right? Arsenal could go and get 4-5 tomorrow. I don't foresee Newcastle doing that, even though I think it'll probably be low scoring at Goodison Park. So yeah, I think if that was right in front of my face, yeah, I think I'd probably do that, to be honest. Alfie Clark says Almiron, Mitrovic and Andreas to Nonto, Mitoma and Odegaard -4. On the face of that sounds quite good. The only thing is, obviously, I can't see how many Newcastle Man United players you've got. That has to be a consideration if you're adding a Brighton player at this stage. That's not to mean you shouldn't. It just has to be a consideration. Matt Bryant says, evening, sir. I think I'm settled on Cancelo to Aki and rolling the other transfer. But Martial, Almiron and Cancelo to Nonto, Bruno and Mings for -4 is tempting. Thanks for all the content, mate. Yeah, I'd probably stick with plan A, mate. And I think even the way you've written it, Matt, I think inside you've already decided. Jay Lodge says, all right, mate, hope you're well. I am, hope you are too. Thoughts on Salah to Bruno for free? And would you do Martinelli to Saka for -4? Thanks. For free? Yeah, sure. Absolutely. What about next week, though, when Salah's got Everton at home? What do you want to do about that? Just make sure you leave the money, and that's double the reason to say don't take the -4 from Martinelli to Saka. Could be sitting here this time next week going, oh my God, Salah's got Everton at home, and in 2 weeks he's the obvious captain because he's got a double against Palace Wolves possibility, right? So I'd leave it open. In any case, just in isolation, would I get Saka in from Martinelli just on its own, ignoring everything else from -4? No. Louis says, I wasn't going to play the triple captain this week. Having listened to your pod, I agreed that it could be better just to get it out of the way. Thanks for the great info and opinions. As ever, play it your way. Like, if you want to hold it. I'm not playing it because I think Marcus Rashford's going to be the highest scoring player in any game week this season. It just feels like it's landed at the right time. And there's every chance what comes better will land in weeks when I want to use the wild card or the free hit or the bench boost. And it could be that there's nothing else in a kind of single week, if you will, that looks this good. There's been plenty of people holding it for Haaland next week, and that's perfectly understandable, right? And it would not surprise me at all if Haaland outscores. Haaland scores more next week than Rashford scores this week, for example. Wouldn't surprise me at all. But I've decided to go for it at the moment. If City weren't playing Arsenal next week, if they're playing any other team, I think I'd put it on Haaland next week. But I think that's rough. And Haaland's performances in big away games, in terms of his returns, haven't inspired confidence. And Villa will certainly be better defensively under Unai Emery than what they've been. So that's why I'm going for Rashford currently. Project FPL says, great live stream and chip strategy. Thank you. Have 2 free transfers and have the key players for this week. So thinking either Aki to Mings this week to tee up Fernandes to Mahrez next week. I'm not sure I'd want to move. I mean, I've just bought Aki, right? I've just bought Aki and benched the bastard. Obviously wouldn't bench him next week. I'm not sure on that. Seems like a roundabout's way of doing things. Again, as advised to someone else previously, that obviously I can't see all your team, and please don't put all your team in the chat, because honestly I'll just skip it. But just look at the bench again. Is there something with those 1 free transfer you can set yourself up for something better in game week 25? Be it an enabler, be it a goalkeeper change. Have a look at that. That's probably what I'd do. Vienna says, hey James, transfer Robertson, Martinelli and Wilson to 4.8 million defender Bruno and Nketiah for a -4, or do Robertson to a 4.4 defender for Martinelli to Bruno, or keep Robertson, do Martinelli to Anthony and Wilson to Nketiah. My general take, honestly, if you've got a Liverpool player right now, keep it. You might massively regret sitting here this time next week and not have it. Honestly, if you've got anything Liverpool at the moment, I'd keep it. And do you know what? This time next week, it's Everton at home, and you can make a decision after that. So my advice generally on Liverpool players, the majority of them, and I guess the only ownership right now is probably sort of Alisson, Robertson. There'll be a few Trents out there. I don't think there'll be many Gakpos at this stage. But Salah, if people have held Nunez through, like at the moment, I'd hold that. That would be my advice. So the honest answer, Miana, is whatever option from all that I just read that didn't involve selling Andrew Robertson. And if all of them do, then I'd look for a different solution. Miena Sidom says, remember to smash the like, people. It's free. Yep, much appreciated, Miena. Thanks very much, mate. Let's see, how many of you? Wow, look at you. About 10% of you have hit the like button. Come on, guys. Hit it. And if you're Chromecasting or something like that, you can do it from your phone while it's still on the TV. No excuses, guys. Uros Milechovic says, hi James, KDB and Almiron to Bruno and Saka, or Kane and Almiron to Nketiah and Bruno. As discussed previously, I'm not keen on anyone selling Harry Kane at this moment. James Nelson says, incredible chip podcast yesterday. James, on behalf of all the listeners, thank you. Smash a like, everyone. Good luck all. That's very kind of you, James. Thank you. J-Lo Broski, hello my friend, says, hi James, hope you're well buddy. Couple of questions which could be done after FPL advice for people. 1, how do you think the Newcastle v Man United final will pan out? I discussed that Marsh James stream this morning and said slight favouritism for Manchester United, but think it could go all the way to penalties. I think it'd be a great final, really close call. My confidence in saying Man United would be about 55%. Go either way. And 2, are there any plans to do FPL meetup? Cheers. It's a little bit dependent on things Tottenham do. Whether getting a little bit better, personal circumstances for both me and Suj at the moment might be a little bit awkward at this stage. Everyone's fine, by the way. Bournemouth in the summer is looking a possibility, by the way, for a night, because I'm probably going to be heading down there for a while with the holiday fund patrons. With the holiday fund, I'll let you know if anything gets booked. We'll do something soon. I think March international break, maybe we can organise something for a beer or something. Guesty says, hi James, good luck for the weekend, and to you too, mate. JP says, great stream in the morning, looking forward to another. Thank you. Dalton says, hi James, have one free transfer and already have Bruno Fernandes. Thinking of KDB to Saka, Odegaard, or Kane to Nketiah, or could I just roll? Thoughts? Roll. Power of rolling. He's good. Any doubts at the moment? I think that's your way to go, personally. Frodo says, your thoughts on getting Porro after Man City game? Good, sir. I nearly got him this week, mate. Honestly, I've really considered putting him in, because once I decided that there was a good chance whoever I got was going to end up benching this week. I remember, obviously, Aki had to come in for me to facilitate the other moves, right? I did think, well, I could do that with Porro. And what a potential run that is from 23 to 27 for an offensive wing back. But we can't know how quickly he gets in the team. I think he'll get thrown straight in on Sunday, but I'm not sure of that. But I think that if he can get even close to the numbers that he was posting in terms of chance creation in Portugal, people are going to want him very, very quickly at that price of 5 million. There's that as well, right? Most of us will be holding like a Newcastle defensive asset or a Manchester United defensive asset who have got a blank in 25. Be plenty of people out there who've even got the likes of Ben Mee, for example, Purvis is Stupinan. Can it be that at the right time, okay, we know Porro's in now, let's go? And I think we should be aware. Now, it could be, listen, to compare the Portuguese League and the Premier League, it's obviously very, very difficult. He's not going to be on the same number of set pieces, I wouldn't think, at Tottenham, for example. But yeah, his numbers in the Portuguese League are comparable to obviously what Kieran Trippier has been doing this season, and why he keeps getting bonus points every week and stuff. So yeah, he's one. I think of all the signings that have come to the league that we haven't really seen yet, and I know we've seen Mudryk briefly, but I think, yeah, Mudryk and Porro are the two that really stand out to keep an eye on. Also, Traore at Bournemouth, really surprised he's coming at 4.5. That's not an immediate one, and they've got difficult fixtures, but I tell you what, that could be one that lands on everybody's bench boost maybe later in the season, should Brighton and Bournemouth end up in a nice double. As explained yesterday, it probably won't. But he's one to keep an eye on. And the two Southampton attacking players who come in are worth keeping an eye on as well. But I think they're all watches at the moment. If one or two of you have the luxury to just punt Mudryk right now, I really don't mind that. Good question. Ali Bismo says, all the best for the rest of the season, James. Great pod yesterday, as we all expected. Really enjoyed it. Thanks, Ali. Much appreciated, mate. Andrew Howard says, hi, James. I have Foden and Martial. Would you move them on or ride it? I don't know why I said ride it like that. Would you ride it? Yeah, I'd ride it. I mean, be more tempted to. I'd be tempted to move Foden on this week and Martial next week. That's what I'd be tempted to do. But you got to know where you're going, Andrew, right? Otherwise, it's worthless. Don't just get rid of a player for the sake of it. Who do you want? Adam says, Kane, Mahrez and Mbumo. Start 2, bench 1. Bench Mbumo from that, mate. Thank you to Rob Pick. Thanks to Connell Hooley as well. Colin Johnson, play Mitrovic. White. Is that a Mitrovic or White question? It's slight favouritism for Mitrovic. You look at the benching dilemmas, I've got Mitrovic just over Saliba, so same theory. Wavy this afternoon, sir. Thanks so much for the pod on chip strategy. Loving your work. Thank you. Jay Barker says, evening, James. Would you swap Mitrovic to Nketiah for free or roll and have 2 frees next week? I think I'd roll, to be honest. Like, is Nketiah a better option than Mitrovic this week? Yeah, absolutely. No question. But I think I'd roll. You might have more information on how, when Jesus is going to be back. So I don't know how long you want Nketiah for. Do you need Nketiah for 25? Probably yes. Could Jesus be back by then? I don't think we've quite got that information yet. I'd say it's probably doubtful, but he's certainly back for 28 if you're thinking of running all the way through. It might be something else opens up. So rolling that transfer, you can begin looking at getting rid of some of the United assets you've got now, if that's what you want to do, for example. So I think, yeah, if you're in doubt, roll, mate. I wish I could roll every week. Andrew Grondin says, hi James, all sorted for this week. So how about a question for 23? Rodrigo out for Mahrez or Mudryk? Well, I think with the double sitting there in front of your face, you'd go for Mahrez, wouldn't you? But 1 week further down the line, arguably Mudryk. Berticus says, hey James, is it worth a -4 to move Wilson to Bamford? It will be a 1 week move as I'll be bringing in and catching next week. Cheers, my friend. That's a strong no from me. I think it appeals because of double, but reality, Wilson's got a home fixture against West Ham. Bamford's got Nottingham Forest away. The Manchester United game is just a bonus. Worth a -4? Not for me. I think Wilson plays tomorrow. He's also got an incredible record against West Ham, by the way. I mean, he's got 9 in 11. I think I saw earlier today. So no, I wouldn't do that. David James Whiteway says, best deadline stream. It's a fact, Benitez style. Cheers, David. The viewers on here tell me that there's better ones. How many people have smashed a like now? Right, hang on. Let's get it. Less than half, you know. Some people are rude. Ben Eddington says, round of applause for Martial. Oh, sorry, I'll come back to you. JP says, I now have Stones out for 1 month and Rodrigo for 2 months. Should I go to a City defender like Aki or go for Porro, Badiashile? I've gone Aki. That's what's right for me, and that's on planning ahead. That's not necessarily right for you. I know I can come back to Porro with, say, one of them Newcastle guys. Because next week, I'm going to go Fernandes to Saka or Odegaard, right? So I'm going to put the money in the bank. So I know there's no issue there from that perspective. Got currently 0.4 in the bank for what it's worth at the moment. So at the moment, I'm going to say Aki. Ben Edinson says, round of applause for Martial, biggest FPL troll. Have to get rid soon just because I don't want the headache anymore. Yeah, that's what I got rid of him about 3 weeks ago, mate. Mind you, I got Mitrovic in. That's not done a great deal for me either. But then ironically, if I'd not done that and still had Martial, I wouldn't be getting Fernandes this week. Funny how it plays out. Chris Bradley says, can't see Dunk on the bench in dilemmas. James, you have a Stupinan starting over Botman. Would you start Dunk over him too? Yeah, same principle, mate. Lewis Dunk's a player who's a threat from set piece and stuff in any case. So, yeah, same principle. I predicted Brighton for a clean sheet and not Newcastle. Although, again, to be honest, on reflection, Brighton could have an issue or two, potentially. Why is Suj sending me shit? What does that mean? What's he sending me? Oh, I know what he sent me. Don't worry. Sorry, talking to myself. Nonsense as usual. What was I talking about? Yeah, start Dunk. Michael Broadbent says, evening, James. Evening all. Great week of content, James and Suj. Hence me hitting the like button on arrival, assuming everyone else has, as it's free. Michael says, no question, by the way. Triple captain Rashford and team is set. Good luck, Michael. Cyrus Bernard says, got Garnacho first on bench. Don't know if I should start him instead of Mitoma, Saka, KDB, Rashford, captain, Haaland, Eddie Nketiah and Kane. No, that's a no, mate, over any of them. I think. Do you probably get 2 sub appearances from him? Yeah. But Martial being back makes it even less likely, right? So, nah, that's a... I mean, to be honest, I'd be looking around at... That's a rare one where I'd be looking around saying, can I take a -4 to get a better United player in? I'd be looking at that. But on what you've got there, Cyrus, yeah, it's a bench. Ben Edinson says, do you predict Haaland Gameweek 23 outscores Haaland 20? Or did Haaland get in 20? What bloody week was that? Was that the United and Tottenham? I think it was, wasn't it? The answer would be yes. Yes, I think he would, yeah. I think, to be honest, Haaland at home to Villa, every chance you're expecting 2 attacking returns, like a goal and assist, for example, or 2 goals. And then probably nothing at Arsenal currently. Whereas I would expect right now, honestly, Rashford in the home game, you just fancy at the moment, don't you? I'd expect probably similar. Rashford is scoring both, but then there's the extra for the goal for a midfielder and the extra for clean sheet as well. So that's why. It wasn't an obvious decision to go Rashford this week over Haaland next week. If people prefer that the other way around, like I genuinely don't mind. Jay Barker says, is United versus Leeds not televised? No. And actually, interesting, Jay, it wasn't on the original schedule. So it was obviously from them games postponed in game week 8. But it wasn't originally selected that day. The original 2 p.m. that day, believe it or not, was Brentford versus Arsenal, and Chelsea versus Liverpool was the 4:30. So United Leeds was never going to be on TV. If they'd have put it on a weeknight that didn't clash with the FA Cup replays, then they're probably more likely to do it. When Palace United was announced, that it wasn't originally scheduled for Sky, but once BBC decided to put Wolves Liverpool on the Tuesday rather than Wednesday, it opened it up because Leeds Cardiff was on ITV4. Whereas this coming Wednesday, BBC are showing Sunderland versus Fulham, and that's a big difference as well. And also, Sky originally did have the rights for Crystal Palace away to against United. That was an original selection, whereas United Leeds wasn't. God, I've gone back into TV permutations. You should listen to my Sky Fantasy pods. Dave Lister says, hello, mate. Hope you're well. Jams. Good luck, Dave. Menendez says, how do you feel about Anthony this week? Pointless coverage or worth a go instead of Bruno? Alternative is going straight to an Arsenal mid. I mean, Roll is the other alternative. I'd probably go straight to Arsenal, Be my take. If you didn't do that this week, you're doing that next week, aren't you? So surely you're putting an extra transfer in the bank somewhere. And I know you can't really see them points, but somewhere that's got to give you an extra transfer. Chipman76 is great setup on the videos. That's my man FPL Captain on the graphics, smashing it as per. Currently one man down of a full team game week 25. Oh, that's all right, mate. Tony -4 to Nonto Bamford or Almiron to Sinistera worth considering. Neither. Ivan Tony's got a great fixture this week. I mean, if you're looking to add an extra doubler, you could like Tony to Nketiah next week, for example. I don't know, you might already have a complement of Arsenal, admittedly. Sinistera, I wouldn't have him in my predicted Leeds team. That's despite Rodrigo getting injured. So, super talent Sinistera, but not for me at the moment, no. Q being high scorer of the double game week, obviously. Tom Sleeman says, Cancelo to Gabriel or roll a transfer. Buying Gabriel would mean I wouldn't have to start Bueno this week. Yeah, I think you do that then, mate. Hasselbank's win. Thoughts on Mykhailo Mudryk and his performance at Liverpool? Looks great. I did speak about him a little bit earlier in the stream as a potential FPL asset as well, so I'm going to jump that, but thanks for the question. Peter G says, evening James, Sky question, Trippier to Aki or Zinchenko? I already have Edison in goal and Saliba. Cheers, pal. Not this week, mate. Next week. So my take on that would be make the move after Newcastle play Bournemouth in terms of moving on Trippier if that's what you want to do. Not this week, mate. Tiffany says, have the free Man United looking to move Tony to Nketiah -4 now to set up for next game week. Bruno to Odegaard and Andreas to Mahrez -4. Too much, thank you. I mean, you're not going to go Tony to Nketiah now from -4, are you? I can't be in agreement with that. Like, if it's -4 next week as part of the other moves you're making, yeah, cool, no probs. I can't see how you remove Ivan Toney from -4 for any player this week. Like, I wouldn't be comfortable if you said, it's going to facilitate me getting Bruno Fernandes this week and selling Tony was a part of it. I wouldn't be comfortable with that, I don't think. And I actually think Brentford might not win tomorrow, as you can probably see on the predictions, but yeah, I wouldn't move Tony this week. Matt Fowler says, drop Darwin to get Fernandes or keep him and go for a second United defender is better for my team structure going forward. Matt, you already answered the question. Go second United defender for the moment. Just be cautious. If you've got, say, double Newcastle as well, you're going to need to make some defensive transfers heading into 25. But yeah, look, double defensive would be great differential, mate. Spud Maestro says, hi James, Muggins here still has Trent, but do I bench him or play him? Botman and Aki, my other options. Oh, it's such a headache, that one. I think Milner might play again tomorrow, you know that, but it just absolutely feels wrong. And even with how they have been defensively, it still feels wrong to say don't play him. I think if that was me, I'd play Trent, honestly. That's a headache one. And what I said about, I think, if you've got a Liverpool asset at the moment, keep it. It could suddenly look absolutely great. I mean, just to sum that up for you, on my actual projected schedule, up until 27 with the added Liverpool Wolves fixture, if it went into 25, Liverpool suddenly steam to the top. I'd play Trent. I think I'd play Trent. I'd bench Aki. I presume you'd be playing Botman there. I'm going to guess that's the way it's working. You got luxury where you're benching two of them. You must have some team, mate. Ben Edinson says, under the radar January signing that could become an FPL asset. Traore at Bournemouth is one. And the two Southampton players, Suleiman and Uanachu. I'm just going to confirm their pronunciations because I keep forgetting. Camel Dean, sorry. Is that the midfielder they got? Campbell Dean? Is that the right player? On Easy for fuck it. I struggle with English. James, it's written in English. On Uachu, the forward, 5.5, he's interesting. And Camel Dean, 5 million, midfielder. Both of them worth keeping an eye on. They've kind of got a mixed bag of fixtures, but yeah, I think they're worth keeping on. Mudrik's kind of a more obvious one to say and stuff. And similar for Porro. But yeah, those three at Southampton, Bournemouth respectively, keep a strong eye on. James Gibson. Hi James, enjoyed the chip strategy. Who to bench out of Robertson and White? I've managed to bench all of White's points since World Cup and played him when he blanked. It's the upside of a player like Robertson though, isn't it? You know that could so easily just quickly turn into a 12-pointer or so. I play Robertson, mate. Sorry. And I think we probably all think Arsenal keep a clean sheet tomorrow. Oliver Jacobs, sell Wilson or Mitrovic? Mitrovic at this minute in time, I think. But that's obviously dependent in terms of what's your 25 outlook as well. You know, Mitrovic has a fixture, Wilson doesn't. And I think you'll definitely want to sell Wilson as well. So you're kind of planning 2 transfers, whereas maybe if you keep Mitrovic, that's only going to be 1 transfer. So consider that. David Middleton says bench 1 of Odegaard, Saka, KDB, Tony. Fuck me, mate. I'm gonna say KDB. I 100% know that the other 3 will start, and I'm only about 90% sure on KDB. And on paper, it is the toughest fixture as well. So, yeah, it's you have to know though, David, that is a madness. It's a madness. Florentine, someone's going to meme that, aren't they? Florentine P says Martinelli to Saka for -4. Thanks. No, I covered that a little bit earlier on. Johnny J. Hi James. Start Mitrovic or Cucurella? I haven't got Cucurella in my predicted Chelsea team, which may help or may not help. I think it might move Lewis Hall to wing back tonight. It's got to be Mitrovic then, hasn't it? If that's what I'm saying, it's got to be. But I don't fancy him to do anything tonight. The good news is I've sold Mitrovic as part of a -4, right? So probably he's definitely scoring tonight. By the way, guys, about 14 minutes from deadline. So please do make sure you're getting your teams locked in, your transfers done, etc. You know, if you're on triple captain, make sure it's active. All that kind of jazz. If you've been taking -40s and need to activate the wild card, activate the wild card for God's sakes. Colin Con says 3-part question. 1, favourite spirit. Vodka, because the others are a bit too loopy for me. I did have a stage of being a bit of a brandy man for a little bit, actually. I do like a hot whiskey at winter, but yeah, vodka. To be honest, last time I had a spirit, my God. The last time I had a spirit, and this isn't including people at the bar going, let me buy a Jaeger bomb. Like there's some sort of fucking heroes and like I'm not 39. The last time I actually bought myself a spirit, wow. I think probably over a year ago, I'd say. Yeah. Probably over a year ago, I think. Question 2. Nonso. Triple captain to wind up Andy Martin. I know that conversation was happening on Slack earlier, but it won't. Andy will be happy if Nonso goes off this week, right? 3. Have to pick 1. Spam or Poloni to eat? Spam. Ben Edinson says, will Rashford have a higher EO than Haaland this week? Yeah, comfortably. Yeah, I don't think it'd be close, to be honest. Haaland will still be over 100%, I imagine. But that depends what level you're at as well, in terms of your rank. So, yeah, Rashford's going to be massive. It's going to be massive. I think the way it's looking in terms of people's votes on Twitter, all the content and stuff, I think Rashford will be over 200%, I think. It's worth saying I think Haaland will be next week as well, so you can't cover all of it. Andrew Sands says, hey Handsome, in what game week might you seriously consider Chelsea's assets, outfield players wise? Are defenders or attackers more attractive? Well, that Badiashile news that I mentioned might be interesting because he's the natural left footer to play left side centre back, and he's had a decent start, right? 2 clean sheets in his first 2 Premier League games. And obviously can't play in the Champions League. So whereas Thiago Silva would be a rotation headache, as long as he stays in the team and his first choice, he'll keep playing in the Premier League. That said, you could flip that narrative and say, well, Potter will want to look at Silva partnerships with other players like Fofana if he gets fit, for example. And I guess that problem will come down the road when Fofana gets fit, for example. Fofana could play left or right-sided centre-back, I think. Predominantly been right, or you can move Thiago to left. Thiago's so good, you play him anywhere across the back line. It depends, right? So if you're sitting there now with 3 Arsenal, 3 City, 3 United, you could look at Mudryk now. That's probably the only... Mudryk or Kepa would be the only ones I'd look at right now. West Ham away next week, so I think you probably jump that. Then 24, look, Southampton at home before coverage in the blank. So 24, I think, it'll become a bigger conversation, particularly say if Mudryk does really well over the next couple of weeks. And people are frustrated with the likes of Mahrez's, for example. If someone's got a Mahrez and he starts getting left out of the team, once you hit 24, if Mudryk has done well, it's going to be fairly obvious, possibly. And did you call me handsome? And then ask who was attractive. Ben Costin says, hey, currently have Kane on the bench. Can't fit him in. Would you play him over KDB, Eddie, Arsenal, Mitoma, or Martinelli? I'd play him over every single one of them, mate. Honestly. I'd pick Harry Kane over every single one of those players. Yazid says, hello, James. Thanks for a great job in FPL. You're very welcome, mate. No problem at all. Manaf says, hi, James. Double Newcastle defence or White over Botman. Slight preference for Arsenal player. Peter G says, Sky question, after tonight, should I hold Silva or move on to Man City Arsenal defender? Great entry point for Arsenal tomorrow, mate. Colt Chapman says, bench 1, Nunes, Nonto, Martinelli. Not Nonto. Nunes. Andrew Sands says, percentage chance of Conte being in charge at Spurs for game week 1 next season. I'm glad this isn't audio, so I can just sit here and think about it. Less than 50. Let me say that. Less than 50. Thomas Baker says, -4 for Martinelli to Saka. Want the best Arsenal set me up for the good run. Worth the hit. No, not for the hit for me, no. If it's -4 now, can you make it for -3 next week? Excuse me. Daniel says... Sorry, indigestion. Daniel says, hi, James. Cancelo and Archer for Mings and Nonto. And bench Mings for -4. Or Cancelo for Mings for 3. So basically, your -4s for Nonto. No, I'd just go to 3 at the moment. Do I think he's worth... Would I play him in almost every circumstance this week? Yeah. Is he worth a -4 at this stage? Probably not, would be my take. But that said, the thing is, just you're selling... Who are you selling? Archer. Ask yourself this. If you don't do it, who's playing in your team instead? Then ask yourself Nonto -4 over that player that you'd be bringing in, and then make a decision. But considering I'm just naturally saying no, I think the answer will be no. Angel Ross says, hi mate, great content this week as always. Is Mount to Saka worth a hit this week? Also, please bench one of Botman or White for me. Again, I'm going to say Botman. It's really close between Newcastle and Arsenal defensive assets. Mount to Saka for 3, yes. Hit, no. We think Mount probably starts tonight, so I think that's a no. Dagim says, hi James, I already have 3 players from Arsenal United City plus Salah with 1 free transfer. What should I do with it? Not ask me that question on Twitter when I'm about to go live on YouTube. I did see it. I didn't have time to respond to it. The answer is nothing, mate. It's literally as simple as that. Don't do nothing. What a blessed situation you're in, mate. And I don't know if you've worded that in the way of like, I have to get rid of him. Like, don't right now. Don't right now. Keep it. Come back. Honestly, mate, go and put the kettle on. Make dinner. Have a takeaway. Or go out. Whatever suits you. I honestly wouldn't do nothing. You must have, mate, probably the best team of all of us in here. IDJP says, is it worth taking out or any of my front 3 of Havertz, Haaland, Mitrovic for Kane? You're not going to buy, as much as I'm saying don't sell Kane, you're not going to buy him this week, are you? That's something to come back to. I'd be very conscious of it. But the chances are you've probably got power players in the midfield right now, be it a Fernandes, be it a KDB, that after 23 will open up for you to get to Kane. It might even be that Fernandes you want to get rid of and it opens up for next week. Again, I can't see your team, right? But you're not buying Kane this week. FPL Trini says, can Bruno captain help to ease my red arrow? Use triple captain in game week 20. Yeah, it can, but if he doesn't do badly, mate, it's going to make it worse, right? So again, you spin your narrative however you want, mate. If it goes well, amazing. If it doesn't, you know the consequences already. Meninda says, how was the issue with Conte affected Spurs prep for this game? Do you think it impacts the on-pitch performance? No, not massively. I mean, look, it's Manchester City this week, so focus will be pretty big and strong. Most of the players like him, right? So I think they'll be determined to put on a performance and at least give it a credible performance. So it shouldn't be too much of an impact. And there's every chance, by the way, it sounds like it went from yesterday he might be at the game to today he might even be in the dugout. So nothing major. I know. Remember, they've had a week to prepare as well. So it'll all be Conte's preparation for this game. It's just Christian Stellini will be carrying it out instead. And again, he's well respected by the players. Noah Van Ugen says, seriously tempted to go Bruno triple captain, in your opinion? Need convincing either way. Play it your way. Hashtag. It's in the pinned message in this chat. I'm not going to tell anyone not captain triple captain Bruno. You think Bruno outscores Rashford and you've got both? Go Bruno. Simple as that. You think Bruno's the best triple captaincy option of the season? Do it. Crack on. I don't mind. He's not one of them where I'd be like, oh my God, what are you doing? Like if someone said to me now, I want a triple captain Bamford, I'd be like, okay, maybe you want to like think about it. Or I want a triple captain De Gea. All right, maybe you want to think about it. But no, you genuinely got belief in Bruno. Crack on. I ain't going to talk you out of it. Shantanu says, hi James, would you do Rodrigo to Mitoma March? Mitoma definitely at this stage. Divish, I'm really, really sorry, mate. You've got so many players in there. I'm going to read the end of it, which says, get rid of Cancelo for Aki and Nketiah for Ferguson. False. Hang on. Oh, Nketiah in for Ferguson. Yeah, it's fine. It's reasonable, mate. Ahmed says, hey man, who should I start? Mitoma, Martinelli. If you look on the bench in dilemmas, mate, page 1, and you'll see they're right next to each other. It'll be the player with the tick, pal. Chris Yang says, James, start Botman or Gabriel. This is becoming a repetitive one. The Arsenal player. For anything Arsenal v Newcastle, I'm going to say pick the Arsenal player, unless obviously it involves Trippier. Maz Asif says, hey James, is Captain Shaw a good idea of chasing rank? Fine, but you know the consequences. I just answer for someone else. Abel Grant says, draft question, play Porro or Danjuma? Danjuma definitely won't start, mate. Andrew Sands, Porro is probably 50-50. Andrew Sands says, impressive stuff from Flo Balogun at Rems this season. Come a long way from 3 goals for Borough last season. Yes, absolutely flying in Liga, and I've seen that. Colt Chapman says, bench 1, Nunes, Nonso, Martinelli have done this. FPL Wilson, Kane and Almiron, or KDB and Mitro out. You really want to sell KDB ahead of next week? Can you go back? Again, not keen on selling Kane. FPL BMR, bench 1, March, Kane, Odegaard or Tony. Solly March. Ahmad says, start Martinelli or Mitoma. We've done that, mate. And if I see your name on that question again, there's consequences. Majid says, Mitrovic over White Aki. Yes. Rob MCD says, hey James, Ben Dinnery reckons possible Shaw only plays 1 game. Okay, but it is possible, isn't it? He's been ill. He's not been well. But if he feels fine now, none of us are in Luke Shaw's body, so none of us actually know how he's feeling. So if he's over the illness, why aren't he going to play Saturday, Wednesday? Of course it's a possibility. It's rotation anyway. United have a shit ton of fixtures. So, I mean, I don't want to scare anyone, but is there a guarantee that Bruno Fernandes plays twice? No. Is there a guarantee that Rashford plays twice? No. United have got a huge backlog of fixtures, right? So, I mean, look, Rashford had a break the other night. And I don't think... I would be very surprised if Rashford or Fernandes didn't play both in this week, as long as they stay injury-free through the first one. But it's not impossible. Same way it's not impossible Guardiola decides to give Haaland a break against Villa, right? Not impossible. Shahid says, is Matoma worth a -4 for Almiron, please? I'm going to say no. John says it's not only about Fernandes when selling Kane. I believe Nketiah will outscore Kane big time versus Everton and a double. All right, crack on, mate. Andreas says, pick 2 from KDB, Martinelli and Mitoma. I presume that's the start. It's going to be bench Mitoma. Russell Baker says, hi James, Brighton problems. Doing KDB, Kulusevski to Bruno, Odegaard and keep Ferguson. Play Cucurella or... Oh, I hate these questions. There's too many players going on. Or KDB, Kulusevski, Ferguson to Bruno and Nketiah, Mitoma for -4 is a nice punt. Okay for game week 25 as I'd sell short to Moreno. I think you've answered your own question, Russell. Good luck, mate. Carl Miller, smash the like, people. Yes, thank you, Carl. David says, waiting for later triple captain Hall and much more Hall potential against anyone. Cool, good luck. Oliver Collar says, option 1, KDB and Martial to Fernandes and Ketcher. -4, Rodrigo to Odegaard. And just hope for the best with Martial minutes. Hope for the best. Tony Oliver says, hi James, one transfer. Shall I sell Azpilicueta? Who's on the bench for sure? And then bench Botman for sure. Yeah, I mean, I'd go for that, yeah. Akash says, triple captain Bruno or Rashford is a clue, mate. Have a look at my team, top right-hand corner. Or if you're struggling with your eyes, then have a look at the top captaincy picks below that, mate. There's a couple of clues on the screen that might lead you to what I think is best. David said, I've had a vision Rashford equals Mane ×3 a few seasons back. Yeah, could easily be Bruno Fernandes. And yes, I triple captain Sadio Mane in that week. Mirza says, hi James, play Strauch or Saliba. Strauch is capable from set pieces, so I'd just give him the edge. But if you ask me to project the points for both of those two, I'd say Saliba higher. No, go Strauch, mate. Ashik says, rough game week for me. No triple captain, no Bruno taking a hit. Bye. I like you, Ashik. I think we've hit deadline, guys. Let's have a look. Yes. It is 6:30 p.m. The deadline for double game week 22 has passed. Apologies, I got through majority. Apologies to those whose questions I didn't get to. If you came just for the FPL stuff, feel free to smash a like, hit the sub button on the way out, and enjoy your weekend. May your arrows be green. I love you too, FPL Irons. I can see your comment. That's 2 days running you've told me you love me. But I understand you've got the plague, so I hope you get well soon. Plague's nasty, mate, you know, pretty bad. I like Suleiman asking who to captain this week when the deadline's gone. Hi, how you doing? Good evening. If anyone's got any non-FPL questions, because frankly I think I've spoken enough this week, then feel free to put them in the chat. However, if anyone's got any specific strategy questions that do not involve players, I don't mind off the back of yesterday's podcast if you want to put them in the chat. But I'm not going to answer any questions on specific players and transfers and stuff like that. But for strategy specifically, I don't mind if there's something you want to put in. But generally, yeah, fire your non-FPL questions in the chat. I'll cover them off for 15 or so minutes. Obviously, if you want to support the show, www.patreon.com/PlanetFPL. Where can I find your planner, James? All you have to do is sign up to basic tier. You get yourself on Slack. You join the 700 plus community of Planet FPL patrons, which also includes many of our correspondents are in there. And you've got access to the planner then, and it's a lot more than what you saw on this channel yesterday. What you saw on this channel yesterday is about a 20th of it, and I'm not joking. Honestly, there's a lot more things going on in terms of difficulty ratings over certain fixtures. There's a full Sky planner on there. Obviously, if you want extra podcasts, join an intermediate tier. And if you want the advanced tier content, which includes things like talking tactics and a regular chip talk featured strategy video that we'll do every week currently for the advanced tier patrons as well, you can join at advanced tier. Obviously, only support the show if you can afford to do so, and support the show because you want to support the show, not because you think it will make you a better FPL manager. It might do, but I really, really can't fucking guarantee that shit. So remember, this shit's free. You ever thought, that podcast yesterday, that chip strategy podcast, how is that free? Let me tell you now that if I don't get enough patrons in the next year, that fucking shit is going on Patreon next year. Fuck you all. No, I really would never, honestly, I would never put that podcast behind the paywall. Like I would never put Clash of the Correspondents behind the paywall. But yeah, look, we'd love to have your support. I'm only joking. No, I'm not. Sign up, please. It's the start of a new month. It's a good time, honestly. You all really should have done it in January. But please support the show now. Right, non-FPL questions. Fire them in the chat. Happy to cover off. If you're leaving, thank you very much. Hope your arrows are green this weekend. Suj will be back with me on Monday for the Game Review podcast. I'm going to tell you 2 Clash of the Correspondents next week. Tuesday, Fulham versus Nottingham Forest with Dara Curran and Mark Savans. And Thursday, of course, Arsenal versus Manchester City with Adam Pritchard and Johnny Pringle. We've got Sky Fantasy podcast Wednesday. Just a note, by the way, guys, no deadline stream next week. Boo! Why, James? Why? Boo! Well, that's because I've got more important things in my life And when the FPL deadline hits next week, I'll be on a train to Leicester to go and support my football team. So, unfortunately, there'll be no deadline stream next week. What I will probably do is do a stream with the graphics and stuff, and I'll probably do it the night before, and I'll probably release it as an audio podcast as well. I'll confirm that Sunday, Monday when we release our schedule and stuff. Next week on Patreon, by the way, podcast will include UCL Fantasy Preview on Tuesday with 3 of our patrons. It's going to be a 4-person roundtable. That's on Tuesday. We'll have a Q&A Monday, Tottenham probably Wednesday, quiz Thursday, and the Gameweek 23 preview on Friday. Right, that's it. Non-FPL questions. And, oh, wow. Pravesh wants to test me right from the start or get himself blocked. Hi, James. Thoughts on doing a podcast segment on Sol Campbell transfer saga for us new overseas Spurs fans? Fuck that shit. I do shit I enjoy doing most of the time. Actually, on the Patreon podcast we just released on Wednesday on Tottenham, we had a discussion for about 10 minutes about him asking for forgiveness from Tottenham fans and some of the chants that I heard at Preston last week and stuff like that. So actually, there's a little bit of a chat on it on the Patreon podcast we just released, mate. But to be honest, I'd rather not kind of give that idiot any fucking attention whatsoever, because he's a whatever. I'm going to jump that before I say something I regret. Sean says, what boozers did you get into in Preston out of interest? I spent 6 years there, 3 at uni, had some interesting good nights there. You have to remember I was with my old man, right? He's coming up to 70, so it wasn't like party all night. We got off the train, we went in the Vic, because we were staying quite near there next to the station, and we had to walk down the main road, and we went for a drink in the Slug and Lettuce, and my dad was astonished by beautiful looking women at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Hi, Dad. And then after the game we went and had something to eat, and we popped back in the station, and then to be honest we went back to the hotel and watched Match of the Day, right? So yeah, chilled. Nice. It's all right there, Preston. Okay. Vipul says, do you like Indian food? Not sure whether Suj's family have invited you for a proper Indian dinner. Listen, neither my stomach, my tongue, or my arse could take it if it was proper, mate. We get an Indian now and again, and I'll get like a mixed grill. Right, fancy a takeaway tonight. I said, I'll do that. Indian, not far. Great mixed grill. I know that's going to offend people, but sorry, I can't take spice. FPL, lemon and herb in Nando's pushing. I've said that so many times. FPL Hitman says, cheers, James. Hope you're doing well. Good luck, everyone. Thank you, mate. All well. Hope you are too, my friend. Kirihura FC says, exceptional channel. Thank you very much, mate. Much appreciated. Can I just say as well, by the way, like, if you haven't listened to the Chip Strategy podcast yesterday, what are you doing? Why are you still here? Go and listen to it. It's all still going to be relevant over the weekend, other than when we speak about triple captaincy a little bit. Other than that, it's all still relevant. It's about 75 minutes. Like, I pull out the ins and outs of the duck's arse of what can happen with doubles and blanks, basically. Which, I know some people think it's too detailed. Some think it's actually no one thinks it's not detailed enough. I don't think. But listen to it for God's sakes, and smash a like on it and tell people how good it is as well. Yeah, we never say that. Tell your friends about the channel. Voya says, "Hey James, curious to know what your best 11 of the season thus far would be." Okay. Nick Pope in goal. Right back Kieran Trippier. Right-sided centre-back, I think Saliba. Left-sided centre-back, I think Sven Botman. It was interesting, Sai, FPL Bibbs, our Newcastle correspondent, said Cher's been better than Botman this year. But I think, as I said to him, I said if I had to pick a left-sided centre-back, I think it'd be Botman, the way he's broke into the team so seamlessly. Left-back is more difficult because Dan Burn wasn't playing every game at left-back at the start. Obviously, Zinchenko's had injury issues. We can't say Cancelo or Andy Robertson or Ben Chilwell or a Tottenham player. So you're left scratching a little bit. Estupinan recently been really good, but took a while to lock down a place himself. To be honest, by default, it's probably Luke Shaw. But a shout out for Rico Henry. who impresses me more and more every time I watch him, by the way. But I'll say Luke Shaw. Holding midfield. I could leave a player out here and it's tough whichever one I leave out. So I'm going to say let's pick a midfield three of Partey, Casemiro and Odegaard. Left wing, Haaland up front. Let's get that bit out of the way. Right wing, I think for what he's done this year, and harsh on Saka, but fuck it, put Almiron in there, bollocks. But I'm sure by the end of the season we'll be saying Saka. He's such a good player, Bukayo Saka. Left wing. Do we still say Martinelli? Maybe. Do we put Rashford in consideration now? Over the course of the whole season, I don't know how to say Rashford. I think it's probably Martinelli still, isn't it? I think. And then what's interesting from that, you've got one Man City player. There you go. I'm not saying that's perfect. It's done off the top of my head. Addy Tour says, hi James, who's a better captain for Sky tonight, Kepa or Paulinho? Probably Kepa, in all honesty. You've always got save potential chance for him as well, whereas Paulinho, that he can score and stuff, but he's generally, you're looking for the tackle tier with him, aren't you? So I think Kepa. Big Geek says, all right, James, seriously considering Dunk captain tomorrow in Sky. How crazy is that? It's not. We said on Wednesday's podcast there were loads of options this Saturday, and that means there'll be more of a split. So if that's who you fancy, I'm absolutely okay with that, mate. Thomas Powell says, hey James, been a while, off to London soon, see a mate, and he loves chicken. Yes. What's the best thing to order when we go? So 2 pieces of chicken and chips in chicken is generally enough. Depends what time of the day you're going. So if you want a big lunch and you're not bothered about the end of the day, or it's after a few drinks and that's the end of your night, make it free. But yeah, just a general fried chicken, mate. It's the best thing ever. I haven't been there for so long. And that's despite the fact, yes, I go past there for every other week. The queue's too long. This is about 45 minute queue when Tottenham are playing. Rockpie123 says, just want to say big thanks for the content you do. Started listening in November when I was 4.5 million in rank. Since then, made up loads of ground and looking to break top 1 million this week. Well, congrats, mate. I hear these stories all the time. And it's really interesting because it don't do fuck all for my rank. There's nothing for me. But it's nice to hear them stories. I'm sure there's people who listen to us who go backwards as well. But it's nice to hear. And I'm glad you're here. Thank you. FPL PTSD is responding to someone says, don't think James is the best person to ask about. He should not be named yet. Quite right. Barry Coleman says, do you think we're seeing a beginning of a changing of the guard at the top of the Prem? No. No, not as such. I mean, what's the changing of the guard? I mean, there's every chance we're going to get 3 different teams qualified for the Champions League this year, right? So Tottenham, Liverpool, Chelsea all qualified last year. None of them are in those places right now. So is that a changing of the guard? But I'd also say that those 3 teams could get back in next year, right? So I wouldn't say changing of the guard. I think probably from what we've seen so far this season, there is nothing to suggest that even if Arsenal won the title this year, that they'd suddenly have a drop-off next year, for example. But they'd have to play their first team in the Champions League and the Premier League. It offers different challenges, but I'm sure they'll want to improve in the summer. And the age profile of that squad suggests that they should improve. You look at what Chelsea are doing. I look at Chelsea now and think they could win the league next year. Liverpool, I'm sure, will recover. Manchester United are on a progressive path. And Tottenham, slowly but surely, are hanging in there. We're hanging in there, basically, at the moment. And City ain't going to go away. So does one season make a change in the guard? It's like the ridiculous one. And I can see Ray Qureshi. I'll just chat him because he's made a comment. No, you don't, lol. You're quite right. He's an Arsenal fan. And he'll probably agree with this comment. It's like every time Tottenham beat Arsenal or vice versa, it's like London is this colour or shift in power, North London power shift and all that. Fucking shut up. Like, honestly, it's a game of football. And one season, similarly, doesn't mean shift in power. You worded it better than that, Barry. Changing the guard, I think, is a better term to say. But I don't think we could say that when we know Chelsea going to come on strong next year. I mean, even if Newcastle finish fourth this year, do we think that they spend 300 million in the summer and definitely finish fourth again? I don't think there's a guarantee. So I think we're heading to a place which is quite dangerous for the league, where the top 7 are just getting stronger and stronger and stronger. But then every now and again you get the Leicester fairy tale, and teams like Brighton and Brentford and Fulham this year have done really well, that give you a reminder that you don't have to have all the riches in the world, etc. It's not to say that Fulham haven't spent money, or Brentford or whatever, but not to the scale of some of the others, obviously, right? They're small clubs in comparison and doing very, very well for themselves. Villa aren't looking at going, I want to get to 8th. That's not what Villa are thinking. Villa are thinking, we want to get through that ceiling. Eventually, Leeds will think that. Eventually, Everton, when they sort their mess out and get in a new stadium, we're thinking they want to get in there and stuff. So the power of the league's just growing. There is a danger that 7 is going to become quite closed. But I think we've seen, even Chelsea finished 10th a year after they won the league, right? Sacked Mourinho in like December, weren't they like 15th or 16th? Like, nobody could have foreseen that in pre-season. So I don't think half a football season you could look at, like I've said, I think Arsenal will go and win the league, but like to say, they'll go and win it for the next 3 or 4 years, like, I couldn't say anything like that. So good question for a debate though, Barry, thank you. Jim says get Suj to do it. I don't know what it is, but he doesn't do a lot, to be honest. Ballroom Jam says good luck all. Thanks for a great stream, James. You're very welcome, mate. Good luck. Super Tiger says, what's your take on the Spence situation and lack of minutes at Spurs? Harsh on him, or was he just not good enough? I said on our Tottenham podcast on the Wednesday after we played Portsmouth in the FA Cup, and he came on for the first 15 minutes. It was the first time I'd actually seen him for that long, unbelievably, from an aerial view. And actually it struck me that, maybe he wasn't ready. But I also think the treatment of him has been bad, and absolutely he should have had the opportunity to be tried. To not even start games like Portsmouth in the Cup, or not in the Forest away in the League Cup and stuff. Yeah, he absolutely should have had an opportunity. Remember, Doherty reckoned weren't fit till like late October or something. There were opportunities there. So, clear, Conte didn't want him, and kind of made that clear, didn't he? But he's a player there, no doubt about it. And I know actually the club staff spoke very well of him after those 15 minutes against Portsmouth, saying that he'd followed instruction like completely and did what he was asked. So it might have been like no forward runs, and we were winning 1-0 at the time. So it might be from that perspective. But yeah, he looked like he was playing within himself. It's definitely a player there. I know that. Mark Southerns obviously watched him for Forest last year, and our Forest followers will know there's definitely a player in there. Matthew Hogman says, hello James, hope you're well. Sky question, would you move Stones and Thiago Silva to Zinchenko and Odegaard tomorrow? Already have Saliba, thank you. Yes, I probably would, mate. I mean, Stones definitely. Thiago Silva, I just need to check ahead on a couple of captaincies maybe, just to make sure you're covered off okay. But there's every case to say yes. Yeah, do it. Pete Haley says, alright James, are you coming for our keeper Raya, and do you think you get him? Or Man U will pip you, and what price do you think you should go for? I mean, I've had like 15 million mentioned. I'm sure it'd be more like 25 and above. But am I right in saying he's only got, 17 months left on his contract? He'd be my first choice, Pete. Ray, I'd pick him over Sanchez and Pickford personally. I think he's great. So it probably depends what others want to do. I don't think it's just us as well. I think Chelsea, there's every chance they'll be looking for a goalkeeper in the summer. So I don't think it's just those 3 clubs. Would he? I suppose he'd only go to like a Villa or something. Not that Villa need a keeper. I'm just thinking of an example. Would he go to like a Villa? Probably only if none of those other clubs were interested. Probably. But yeah, I really rate him, Pete. I think he's a great goalkeeper. FPL Iron says, talking of him, if it meant Spurs won the league, would you be happy with him being your manager? No. It's principles, mate. It's principles. And to be honest, it's a little bit like would I want my football club to be owned by a state country to kind of change the country? I've been very clear on that. I don't want it. I'd rather be shit. And that's the same. It's more important things. Right? You got a club that you love. what you feel in there, and forget social media, and you got to win a trophy and all that. What you feel in your heart is sometimes more important than the silverware at the end. How can you think that, James? No, it does. It does. You feel different, that's fine. But to me, how I feel in my heart about my club means more to me. So I want to go. I want to join. I want something I can get behind and enjoy. And I don't think you could get behind that. It literally couldn't happen, mate. Any case, do you think he could lead us to do it? Yeah, all right, mate. What was it you said that time about Phil Foden? He scored a goal against Arsenal, wasn't it? He said, you can't let Phil Foden back in on his stronger right foot. You're right, mate. Rhino says, saw your Preston video. Away days are the best. Hope you and the dad get to go for years to come. Thank you, mate. There'll be more away days coming for the advanced tier patrons soon. Obviously, Leicester, King Power, Ricky Saunders is going to be joining us for that as well. And obviously, I'm going to San Siro on Valentine's Day as well. What do you do on Valentine's Day? You fly to a different country and want to go Milan, babe? No. Actually, I'm going to watch football. I'll be in Milan, so I'll do something out there in Italy, which we'll try and make quite nice as well. So a couple of them coming up for you. Probably 2 in 1 week, I should imagine, actually. LP says, was one FPL question too late this time? Great content, though. Much appreciated. Sorry, my friend. But thank you for contributing. Johan Green says, Chip Pod was amazing info. Easy listening to. Love the show. Thank you. David Eisen says, big fan of your work, James. Please keep the Ask James Friday stream going. Might not get killer numbers, but I look forward to it every week. And sure, a lot of others do too. Numbers are not that important to me, right? Are we enjoying what we're doing? Are we growing? Yeah, it's fine. Are we ever going to do numbers like Andy and stuff? No, because I slag off FPL half the time. So, no, I'm happy. There's always enough chat to keep going, right? It's very rare I cover all the questions on an Ask James stream, for example. So, yeah, I enjoy doing them. Sometimes when I have like 1 in the morning and then I do the Deadline stream like this, I think, fuck it, hell, 2 in a day, which is part way I did it so early this morning as well. But yeah, there's no intention to get rid of the Ask James stream, mate. Andrew Cronin said, fried chicken plain or salt and vinegar? Depends where it's from. And also, if you go to chicken, mate, it's the cinnamon coating, by the way. Kirihura says, one thing is for sure, let's talk FPL. Really, mate? Really? In this community, we'd be nice to each other. Seriously, mate. Jug the fuck on. Super Tiger says, has there been a press release about the midweek between game week 34 and 35? Just wondering why that slot is not going to be the biggest double game week. Bringing game week 35 games forward because of Coronation, perhaps. So I covered this in a lot of detail yesterday, right? Where what I'd said is it's very unlikely that you're going to lose the whole game week. What I think you have to be aware of in 35 is there is a possibility that we may lose, I think, one fixture. And that, depending on how they schedule it, might get brought forward into 34 or might get pushed back into 37. Because it's likely to be something that would be cancelled at late notice. And it would be an issue where a team is arranged to play the midweek before. The police advise they have to move the fixture to the Sunday or the Monday, and they're playing the Champions League on the Tuesday. Something's going to give there. And it's a small possibility that would be the case and that happens. It probably won't impact at all. The idea that we're going to lose all the fixtures or anything like that, no. But that's why, as I explained yesterday, there is reasonable reason to think that the 4 clubs in the Champions League shouldn't be scheduled for a rearranged game in 34 and 37 currently. You have to remember as well, some of the scheduling will be done before you know who's gone through. So, for example, the fixtures for game week 29, in terms of the doubles, is highly likely to be confirmed before you know which teams have gone through in the Champions League quarterfinals or not. Okay? Similarly, the scheduling needs to be done with 34 before you know who's made the semi-final. Has to be done in advance. Okay? Or at least from a planning perspective. So you need to be aware of the possibilities. Now, the Premier League aware of their possibilities? Probably not, mate. Mikkel Paulson says, hi, James. It feels like you think you more intelligent than Suj. Is that because he's a West Ham supporter? And what do Spurs fans think of Stefan Everson? Stefan Everson's shit, mate. One of the worst forwards I've seen play for Tottenham. Terrible, honestly. I feels like I think I'm more intelligent than Suj. My God, my friend, you should sit in a room with us. Suj is probably the most, and I'm not joking, the most intelligent human being I've ever met in my life. So I definitely don't think that. Might I come across that I think I'm more intelligent in terms of plotting out chip strategy versus him? Yeah, and he'd tell you that himself. But in terms of like more intelligent or life or anything like that, no. I'm pretty sure he's above me at the moment in FPL. So no, I certainly don't think that. Is there a balance where I talk more than him? Yes, he's a host. I'm an analyst. We're not like other podcasts. AD Tour says, do you expect Liverpool to come back stronger next season? Well, it depends what they do in the market, to be totally honest, mate. P. Macker says, bit of a tough question with new grounds, but how many of the original 92 grounds did you visit? Original 92? Oh, Jesus Christ. You asked me to think of how many different stadiums have been changed, like Highbury and Main Road and lower league stadiums. And or do you mean the 92 now? Of the 92 now, we were discussing this in the Vic in Preston last week. But I think from the top two divisions, we're short of 5 or 6, I think. That's it from the top two divisions now. It's not many. Premier League is all of them. There's certain old ones I didn't get to. I didn't go to the old Main Road, for example. But there's some I did. Like, obviously went to Highbury, went to West Ham's old ground, went to the old Roker Park. Plenty of ones I went to that have now gone and stuff. With the current 92, I think we're probably on about 55 or so. We'll never get to the lot. Because the idea of me going, oh yeah, I haven't been to, I don't know, fucking Exeter. I'm only going to watch Tottenham. To be honest. Unless I happen to have a holiday there or something. Which I suppose something like that's not impossible. But am I suddenly going to go, oh yeah, I haven't been to Hartlepool. I'm going to go to Hartlepool or something. Because I need to tick it off a list and that. I watched these play for years and years and years. I didn't go to the Camp Nou. Years. Every year it was like, gonna go. And I kept not wanting to go because I wanted to see my team play there. And eventually, in late 2018, I was lucky enough to do so. And I also found out it's the most overrated stadium in the world. FPL Finding Glory evening. Thanks for the chips, tips. Great podding. You're very welcome, mate. FPL PTSD says, intelligence can take many different forms. Of course, mate. James is not sure if you covered this. Who wins the League Cup? Who do you want to win? I've covered it twice already today, actually. In terms of want to win, I couldn't really give a toss, to be honest. Not a preference for either, mate. Definitely doesn't change my life which one of them two wins the League Cup, so to be honest, no preference. Sean says, who do you think has the best Premier League away following from your experience in terms of noise? It's different, right? Because I've had times, I'll give you an example. There's times where Villa have come, as an example, and I've gone, they're on it. I remember playing them the 125th anniversary game on a Monday night and beating us 4-1, and they were all taking their shoes off and stuff, and it would have been funny if they weren't battering us so badly. But I've also had times where they've come and been like, are they here? Like it was actually when we played them at White Lane last year. So it does depend what mood you catch a certain team on. In all truth, the bigger followings are normally the better ones, if I'm honest with you. I think Manchester United's away support is always consistently good, I would say. Always. Whereas some of the others aren't. So, in terms of away support for noise consistently, I'd say them actually. Which might surprise a lot of people, but their away support is consistently very good. Chris says, I love how down to earth James is with his sponsors. Keep up the good work, James. Not everyone will love me. Someone's just reported me to Ofcom, I think, because I've muted them. James says, any opinions on what's going on at Wrexham? Yeah, they've got replay against Sheffield United next Tuesday, and my team might be playing them. Not massively. Like I know there's a lot of people are like, oh, they're funded by money, etc. All right, good luck to them. Good luck to them. So what? You know, it was Salford a couple of years ago getting the attention. Now it's Wrexham getting the attention. In a couple of years, it'd be someone else getting the attention. I'm not fussed. Not fussed. It's interesting that loads of people in America seem to be following them and stuff. Right, good luck to them. I got nothing against them. So you can say it's not fair against others down there. I'm not arguing that. It's not. They've got the backing and other clubs haven't. But does it affect me? It was the same with Salford. A lot of people were like, it's disgraceful what they've done now. Sorry, it's disgraceful that they went into a football club and helped get it through the leagues. Okay, yeah, they overspent more than others. I get that, but is the club safe? Is it on a good footing? Is it run okay? These guys at Wrexham aren't going to put that club in any trouble. And I'm far more interested in not worrying about people like that who are clearly going to look after the football club than people who are going into other football clubs. Like Morecambe, we did a piece on yesterday about to have a takeover, and despite what you might have seen on some other channels today, like it's dodgy as, and we did a podcast on it a couple of weeks ago. And I'd be worried for them, like we've been worried for other clubs. No one wants another Bury. Wrexham doing what they're doing is it's not an issue to me. I realise it is for some down there, but like, fine, whatever. Yeah, they're going to get. Of course, they're going to get the attention because you've got to cut the celebrities around the football club. It's unusual, and that's why. Super Tiger says, which of Chelsea signings do you think will not work out? Well, depends, right? Fernandes is going to get judged in a certain way because of literally how much money they've spent on him. So he's going to get every single bit of him dissected. Whereas, ironically, it's probably great for Mudryk that now he's not the biggest one, for example. But I think largely they've bought well in the sense that they've bought that young profile of player. I was reading something yesterday as well, actually, that the guys actually they've signed might be big fees and stuff, but actually the wage bill's actually coming down at Chelsea, which is quite interesting. Might be something we've not considered from this financial impacts and stuff. Hard to say. I can't remember half the players they bought, to be honest. I think, is Noni Madueke going to be good enough to be a regular starter for Chelsea? I'd be questionable on some of the research I did on him last season when he was getting linked with maybe being a call-up for England. There you go. But it's harsh. He wasn't one of the big signing ones. He's kind of the one you hope does well because he's English, right? Rockpie123, have you considered doing a pod on what's been going on at Cardiff? Seems like they're in real trouble and the whole Salah saga is never ending. The honest answer to that is no. Maybe something I should consider. Jan Remy Nielsen says, what's your top 3 away grounds in the Prem at the moment to go to and why? Let me pick different reasons. Villa is just a great all-round away day. I still think Old Trafford, despite its decrepitating state, I went there in October, and you can feel an aura about the place, which is different. Let me think of a smaller one we've done more recent. I look forward to going back to Leicester next week. So it's one of the easiest ones. It's probably the easiest one outside of London, actually. I like stadiums more with character, though. It's been a long time since I went to Anfield. I want to do that again. But Villa Park, I think, has the right blend of great view on the side, great away day, great away pub, not too far, big city near it. You can do whatever you want with that with Villa. So I think Villa is a great away day. And I'm really annoyed with my dad that I let him talk me out of not going to Villa last year when we won 4-0. And he said, I thought you didn't want to go. I was like, what? I thought you didn't want to go. Yeah, and we didn't go. FPL Bighead says, Chips Tips recap, please. I just joined. How long you got, mate? Honestly, listen to yesterday's podcast, mate. Give yourself 75 minutes over the weekend and just take it in, mate. Take it in and just listen to it. Lord Oishi says, come you Spurs. Love the content, mate. Thoughts on Citizens this weekend? Poro will be good for us, but we need a run like last season, 26 points from last 33, get top 4. We might not need quite that. Thank you, Addy. Nandish says, how many goals assists for Mudryk today? Let's go 1 goal. Reece James starts. So does Enzo Fernandez. I thought Fernandez would start. A little bit surprised by Reece James. But I wouldn't be surprised if Reece James comes off at half time, by the way. The Atmos says, do you watch any other sports? I ain't even got time to watch any other leagues, mate. Spud says there's a quote from Einstein on intelligence that I really like, and it's, if you judge a fish on its ability to climb trees, it will live its whole life believing it's stupid. Probably that, mate. It'd be like a fish out of water, wouldn't it? Frodo says, a good topic for a pod, James. Why the FA wrecked women's football after the First World War? Okay. I'm potentially looking into that at some point. Super Tiger says, who would you want promoted from the Championship and why? Burnley and Sheffield United, 'cause it doesn't matter. That's who's coming up anyway. Third team, for my good patron friend Chris Duckworth, I'm going to say Blackburn Rovers. Right. That's it. I'm going now. It's gone on long enough. Much love. Thanks as always. Smash a like on the way out. Me and Sid will be back with the Gameweek 22 review podcast on Monday. And obviously, again, if you haven't listened to the Chip Strategy podcast from yesterday, please do so. Have a great weekend, everyone. Ciao for now.